I'm going to start with the 4H on this one this time. Eggs, I've roughed in already the basic oval shape, bigger at one end, tighter at the other, and the shadow that would fall underneath that. And I want to keep this very short shading strokes. So I'm going to start by roughing in the darkest part, which is what we call the core shadow. And I'm just putting a very light shadow where it falls across this egg. And it kind of follows that oval shape a little bit. And I'm working on a white, white paper, white egg. So I've got the issue of dealing with that outside line of the egg. And if I want to try and get rid of the outside shape, that line, that outline, and I'm just using a little squishy eraser, and I'll get those out. They should be out over on the side table for you. And I'm just pummeling a little bit to lighten that line up a little, especially on the top edge where I have more light hitting. And I can work my background a little. Add a little bit of value back in that background to help define the edge of my egg. Now I got to think about shadows, and the darkest shadow is going to be this one that falls underneath the egg. And I'm still using that 4H, kind of take it as far as I can using that one lightest pencil. All right, now I need to take a look at my egg because the lightest part is up in here. And there is a fairly significant area, like right here, where the light is shining on this egg. And it's creating this kind of ovally highlight. And there, from there out, the egg gradually gets darker. Very little changes at a time. So you start with your lightest and work gradually into the darker so that you get a more gradual change. And I'm kind of laying in sort of the base value. Again, right along the edge of this highlight, I'm just going to pummel a little bit. It'll do a little blending of my highlight. And then I'm going to start looking for the areas that this egg starts to get darker. And the transition at the edge of this shadow is not a hard line. It's a gentle change from the darker to the lighter. And that's that gradient that we worked on with the other project. And you get this arcing core shadow that sort of echoes the contour of that egg a little bit. And because the light source is back a little bit, you get a little bit darker shadow on the front half of that egg. You also get what's known as the bounced light, and that's because this is a white table that this egg is sitting on. There's a little area right through here that's a little bit lighter, and it's getting a bounced reflected light coming back into the shape. So paying attention, you know, lightest, that plain paper, the very light part where it's starting to transition, transitioning into the darker, getting down into the core, and then coming back out into this bounced reflected light down at the bottom. And this edge of this egg is also, for some reason, picking up quite a bit of shadow right across the curve. And just keep your movement short. Now this is a white subject. If I had a darker subject, I would probably be using more of the HB, but because, you know, eggs, at least this egg is a white egg, I'm using that 4H for most things. I am going to transition over to the HB, however, at this point, to do the shadow underneath the egg. Now you may have noticed I have a paper. I almost always put a paper underneath my hand when I'm drawing. I am really bad about dragging my hand across my work, and that just helps me protect my work so I'm not smearing everything and making a mess. I can even go darker in part of this shadow right next to the egg, where the egg meets the surface of the table. I can deepen that a little bit. No smearing. No smearing with pencils. No smearing with fingers. A little more HB. Right in that core.